Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishna Sotah, Parak Aleph, Chapter 1, Mishna Zai, Mishna 7. B'mida she'adam moeded ba moeded in loy. The measure that a person measures out, meaning that a person uses, is measured for him, is used for him. That means that Hashem punishes or rewards a person in a manner that reflects his behavior. And the Mishnah is going to show that we see this from the way the Sotah is treated. Meaning we've been discussing right now the whole process of how she's treated, as she's brought to the Beis HaMikdash and everything done to kind of degrade her. And the Mishnah now says that she really is an example of this idea that we call midah keneged midah, measure for measure. The way that a person uses a measure, the way a person acts is how they are in kind rewarded or punished. So the example given is, so the Gemara from the Mishnah explains, He kishtas atzma la'avera, she adorned herself for the purposes of sin, hamakim nivla, so Hashem degraded her. Basically, she tried to make herself beautiful to entice men, and therefore she now is made, hamakim nivla, Hashem made her ugly, meaning Hashem degraded her physically, which is by uncovering her hair, having her clothing torn. This is the way that she is, instead of being made beautiful, is made ugly and degraded. He gilses atzma lavera. She revealed herself for the purposes of sin, which the Bartino explains means that a woman like this went to a public place so that men would see her. Again, it's all part of trying to entice the men. So here gilses atzma lavera. She exposed herself for sin. Hashem exposes her because she stands, as we said, at the Nicanor gate, and which is a very public place. People, anyways, mentioned people come to see. All this is to show her disgrace to everyone. So she tried presenting herself in public to everyone in a sinful way. So now she's punished that she is now publicly disgraced. It's by now the Torah says, we didn't get to that part yet in the Mishnah discussing it, but the Torah says that when she drinks the water, if she committed adultery, what happens is that her thigh comes apart from her body and her stomach blows up. So the Mishnah now, continuing in this concept, the midah keneged midah, says, it was by her thigh that she began her sin. And then and then it continues with her stomach, with her belly, which is explained that in the course of cohabiting, she first feels pleasure in her thighs, and then in her stomach, then in her belly. It is therefore that her thigh is struck first, and then her belly blows up. And the Mishnah adds that although the Torah only mentions the thigh and the stomach, the rest of her body does not escape punishment either. She suffers in her entire body, which will be something that we will learn later on. Now, 2 points need to be made here. First of all, the Mishnah says that because she starts her avera by the thigh and then by the stomach, then that's how she is punished. That's how her punishment takes place. So the way it's explained is the following: when the kohen curses her, meaning before she actually drinks and she's punished, the kohen curses her, and he first says that, again, if she committed adultery, he says to her first, her thigh will collapse, and then he says her belly will blow up. Okay, that's what he says. Actually, the water harms her in the opposite order. First her belly, and then her thigh, which makes a lot of sense, since that is the order in which the water goes through her body. Her punishment is still considered to be measure for measure. So then it's not. I mean, the whole point was that first the thigh and then the belly, right? Which is what the Mishnah says. Mishnah says because she started that way, that's how she's punished, but she's not punished that way. Nonetheless, it's still called measure for measure because in the words of the kohen's curse, the hearing of which is the beginning of her punishment, the thigh is mentioned before the belly. So the actual punishment or the actual physical manifestation of it is a different order because the water goes to the stomach first, but the curse, which is the beginning of the whole, which is considered the beginning of her punishment, there he mentions the thigh first, and that's because of the manner in which the sin was done. Now, so this is the Mishnah's first. The Mishnah uses the example of Sotah to bring up the concept of Mida, Keneged Mida, measure for measure. And the next Mishnah is going to give other examples of that too. Next two Mishnayos. Now, just to conclude with something here in the notes, this whole idea of measure for measure, what's it all about? So the principle of Mida Keneged Mida is God treats a person in this way so that he will realize that what happens to him is a reward or punishment from heaven and not some random happening. So it's really a way for a person to understand that this, again, not something random, but it is something coming from Hashem. Furthermore, when one person sees another being punished measure for measure, he will be moved to examine his own behavior so that the same fate will not befall him. So when you see that on somebody else, the measure for measure, and again, you see that it's coming from Hashem and it's measure for measure, that's going to help you examine and figure out what you need to do to make sure that the same fate should not befall you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.